another car talk video. Hey everybody, I'm driving here, so I'm gonna keep my eyes on the road, but I'm so happy to come back here because I'm actually loving our little Monday morning car talks. I'm gonna try to do more of them, but I especially like the Monday morning ones because they kind of happen after I've done like some videos for the week, like Ready to Love, Married to Medicine, although I don't think I haven't gotten that one out. And it gives us something kind of to talk about after I've kind of read all the comments. I just want to say I love y'all's comments. I always want to encourage you guys to speak your mind down in my comments, even if we don't agree. And I always will respect you, and I want you to respect me as well. I know these subjects be getting heated. They be getting heated down here. And sometimes I think, maybe people think I don't hear you. And sometimes I think you guys don't hear me and what I said. But hey, that's how communication goes, right? That's exactly how communication goes in real life, that we think we're saying one thing, people hear a different thing, or vice versa. And really, that's another part I want to get to in this video. I want to talk about communication in this video. But before we go all the way down to talk about the communication, there was two things that came up in my comments this week that I wanted to double back on. And that is my position on settling, that all people settle. And when I say all people settle, I'm not even just talking about all women. Men settle too. So this doesn't even really have nothing to do with women need to accept less women. This is just period. This is just how I think period with, everybody settles. And I first want to say congratulations to Dakia. I forget what season she was on, DC, I believe. And for her marriage. And also congratulations to Sabrina and Walter for getting engaged. I don't know, y'all. We've been talking about how Ready to Love is horrible with their matches, and they don't have anybody on these shows that are worth anything. But I'm starting to look at all these dating shows out here. Married at First Sight. We got Love is Blind. And I'm trying to say, yeah, it's been 10 years. It's been 10 years. It's not like we got a lot of matches. But Ready to Love is starting to come on up with Cornelius and Camille getting engaged, possibly getting married. We kind of had a false start with Simone and Rashid. But now we got Sabrina and Walter on deck to get married. I don't know. Ready to Love is starting to produce a few winners. They are starting to produce a few winners. So I think that's something to really be happy about. I'm always want couples to win. And when I say on my thumbnail, did they settle? You know what my answer is. The answer is yes. Absolutely, they did. First of all, we're going to start with Dakia and her man settled. They settled on each other. They sure did. If y'all remember, and I'm going to play the clip right here. I'm going to insert it.
When did love come into your life?
So we filmed the show 8 months ago. We filmed this show September, October. And he and I have actually been friends for years. He and I have been friends for years. So he's no one that's new to my life, but this is a new romance, but we've always been friends. Mm-hmm. And so I had a birthday trip planned, and he decided to join, and that was kind of the turning point. Like, oh, maybe there's something there. Mm-hmm. And then from there we decided to cautiously explore. We had the conversation. Apparently everybody else knew, and all of our mutual friends and family is like, what took y'all so long? Okay. So it's just been a thing. We were very cautious in the beginning because our main thing was protecting the friendship that we formed over the years. Mm-hmm. But since then, it was because we have such a strong friendship, the romance has been effortless. It's been seamless. It's honestly the healthiest relationship that I've ever been in, because the friendship foundation has allowed us to have such easy and open and honest communication. That has just been an amazing experience to share life with them, and to watch our friendship kind of blossom into this romance and all the possibilities there. I couldn't be happier.
So y'all saw that clip. So now you know that Dakia and this man have been knowing each other for a long, long time. Friends. That's what they've been. Friends, good friends. All their family and friends thought they were compatible. Everybody thought that they would make a good match, but they didn't. They wanted to just stay friends for whatever reason. For whatever reason. Obviously, the reason that they didn't want to move forward, I know she mentioned something about we didn't want to mess up the friendship, but it also probably meant that they were looking for something else out there. Something else that they didn't think that each other had, and they still wanted to find it. So he was still out there dating, and Dakia went on here and went on this show and started dating. And then like that, they came back and said, you know what? I don't even know why we out here in these streets playing like this, looking around. What I really want is right in front of me. Because what they started to do was they started to realize that maybe some of the things in which we overlooked each other are not that important. Maybe they said to themselves, hey, you know what? I've been putting certain items at the top of my list. And honestly, when it comes to what I really want, the happiness I want, whatever it is, you kind of have everything I'm looking for. You may not have 100% of it. I guarantee you he ain't 100% and she's not 100%. And what they did was they settled on each other. After all these years of being friends, they settled and realized what we have, even though it may not be 100% of what we thought we wanted, is perfect for us. It's good enough for us. We are good enough for each other, and they settled. Perfect example of how settling doesn't have to be negative. It really doesn't have to be anything negative, and I wish people would take that connotation out their mind that things are negative. Second person who I know settled was Sabrina and Walter. I know they settled. I know Sabrina settled on Walter. Walter settled on Sabrina. They came to an agreement. They came to a negotiation, just like I said, because I remember a little bit about their seasons, and I remember one of the biggest problems with Walter is people felt Walter was too lackadaisical, that, you know, he wasn't calling women. He wasn't chasing women. He wasn't chasing Mumin. He wasn't chasing Sabrina. He wasn't putting forth enough effort into the women. People said, you know, oh, it's because he doesn't really like them and all these other kind of things. And they were saying, well, if a man really likes a woman, then, you know, he'll really chase her. And then we had Sabrina on her season. She was the complete opposite. Sabrina loved a man to chase her. Remember how she was playing those two men back against each other? I was calling Sabrina back then the Black Widow. I sure was. And Sabrina broke out that whole list. I don't know if y'all remember. She had about 20 things on that list that she wanted in a man. I was like, Sabrina, girl, you're going to have to narrow this down to about 10 non-negotiables. And the rest, you're going to have to start being a little bit flexible on that. I think one of her things on there was he has to have the ability to move to California. I was like, move to California, Sabrina? Why don't you go to California and look for him? But in any event, here she is with Walter. And Walter told the story of how they even hooked up. And guess what's the story Walter told? Walter told the story that they actually met at the premiere of, I think it's Sabrina's season, because Walter was the season before. And he said that Sabrina approached him. Sabrina, who wanted all the men to chase her. Sabrina, who said, you know, she didn't really want to chase no man at all. Walter, who was a laid-back person, who wanted women to do all the work. And guess what happened? Sabrina approached him. And a lot of people may say, well, that's not really settling. I'm going to tell you what it is. What it is doing something different than what you said you do. That's what I mean settling. Settling means backing up off of these hard stances people have, saying, I'm not going to do this. I want this. I'm not settling for this. That's when I say you're going to settle. Well, you're going to settle because you're going to do some things that you're saying you wouldn't do. You're going to be willing to do those things, and you need to do those things. That's why I'm saying everyone's going to settle. I would imagine that in the relationship with Walter and Sabrina, Walter could be a slow starter, because he even said in his little thing, if she hadn't approached me, I might not have ever even talked to her. So a lot of women think, oh, if I say hi to a man down in his DMs, that's being thirsty. No, it's not. No one's telling you to offer yourself up for sex. No one's telling you to go, crazy in the DMs. But this idea that you're thirsty just because you say hi to a man or that you wink at a man in his DMs. That's not thirsty. That's just initiating a conversation. So even some women who have those hard stances, they're not willing to settle and do something different to be able to enter into a relationship with what they want. They're not willing to back up off of some of these hard stances that they may have in order to get to where they want to be. And that's why I say everyone's going to settle. Everyone's going to have to negotiate. And I don't know exactly any other parts that Walter or Sabrina had to come up off of in order to make this union they're about to do complete. I don't know. I know it exists in there where they had to come together and negotiate and said, hey, let's settle down together. Let's accept what each other has to offer and call it good enough. Let's call it all good. Y'all know them kind of agreements. Let's call it good and let's move on. But I want to transition to this next part that actually is more current day with what went on in my comments this week in regards to where I might have had the biggest tussles with some of y'all. I want to say I was surprised that I didn't have as many tussles with the Jonathan pick. When I told y'all that I still like Jonathan, I was surprised I didn't get as much pushback on Jonathan. But I think the reason I didn't get as much pushback is because people started to recognize that Mika was tainting a lot of people's vision of conversation. She was twisting the conversations that she was having with Jonathan to twist her own narrative, which we now realize a lot more people are realizing her narrative is negative. That's what I want to say. It comes from a negative beginning. And when you start negative, you just look for things to validate your negative point of view. And I think that's what Mika did. And I think people finally saw that about Mika. And as a result, they went back and they reevaluated some of the things that Jonathan was doing. And although they may not have landed on, I'm fully like Jonathan, or I think Jonathan did everything correctly, at least they've settled on Jonathan isn't at the level where maybe he should be kicked off right away. There are a few other men that might need to be kicked off sooner than Jonathan. But everybody got their eye on him. But I want to say that wasn't really the biggest contention point. But I want to say that the biggest part where I think I really riled people up was when I said I liked Alonzo, okay, and might have been the fight too with Alexis and Koshia. But first I want to talk about the Alonzo one because I really listened to you guys. And like I said, I listen to points of views. I'm open because I don't see everything. So one of the things I'm gonna concede on with you all when it came to Alonzo, I'm gonna tell you what I'm gonna concede on. I'm gonna tell you the part I'm gonna hold firm on. So a lot of you said I didn't have all the information. You're right, y'all. I don't go to YouTube. I didn't see no Instagram. I haven't seen any of these posts that Alonzo has done recently, YouTube videos where a lot of you guys have mentioned he's doubled down. He's still doing stuff even current day. And I'm going to trust y'all on it. I haven't seen it. I really don't need to see it because I trust y'all because so many of you have said it has happened. So I'm okay with that. So I'm gonna filter that in to my opinion of Alonzo that really, and all it really does, to be honest with you guys, is it just further reinforces what I said, is that I'm very well aware that Alonzo is immature. I really want you guys to hear that from me. I really am very well aware that Alonzo is immature. And another part that people was yelling at me in the comments, I never said that Alonzo wasn't wrong. Let me say that again. I never said that Alonzo wasn't wrong. I know Alonzo was wrong in what he did. Listen, I'm a dual thinker. Two things can be right at once. I can believe that Alonzo's what he did was wrong. I can believe that wholeheartedly. I can believe that he shouldn't have said and done the things that he said. But I also can believe that Koshia's reaction to it was inappropriate. And I think that's what everyone is missing when I'm talking about Koshia. People are really mad that I'm on her. And here is what I'm saying. Just because you're angry, just because you're mad, just because you're hurt, just because you're offended, doesn't absolve you of being able to regulate your emotions. So I can look at Alonzo and I can say he did wrong. He is wrong. He shouldn't have said it. And I could still look at Koshia and say Koshia didn't handle the situation the way I think she should. I understand that people have different opinions, but I believe that Koshia needs better regulation at her age. And I've seen too many instances where although people may have done wrong to Koshia, people may have treated Koshia wrong, people may have said wrong things to Koshia, Koshia doesn't react the way she should as a 30-something-year-old woman with 2 kids. I'm going to say it again. Her reactions to the things that happen to her are inappropriate. Period. Point blank. And so now I'm going to transition into where I'm not going to concede on with Alonzo. And this part may still make some of you angry. What I'm going to do, y'all, in my discussions with you and hearing you out, is I'm going to separate really what my core part with Alonzo was that I liked. When I told you I think Alonzo has a good heart or a decent heart, a lot of you took offense to those words of me saying that because you're looking at, the YouTube videos, what he's saying, what he did, and you're saying, well, how could you say that? So this is the part where I'll say maybe I'm just a little bit different. Maybe I'm just a little bit different. And maybe the things that I'm looking at with Alonzo that I like, and maybe what I should do is I should separate the trait that I liked about Alonzo from him as a whole. That's what I'm going to concede. I'm going to concede that what I'm going to pick out about Alonzo and be more specific that I liked is the part I'm still going to hold on to Alonzo. And I'm going to tell you what that part is. And that part is, in this last episode, was when he apologized to Koshia. If you remember, in the first apology that he had with Koshia, he gaslit her. It was an apology, but it really wasn't an apology that sat well with everyone, including me, because it wasn't what I would think is an appropriate apology. But what I appreciated about Alonzo in that moment was that he at least tried to apologize. Hear me out. I know y'all are already fuming. I know you already fuming listening to me. Okay? So I'm going to give Alonzo a C for effort the first time around. And the reason I'm going to give him the C for effort is because some people don't even get there. Let's be real. Some people don't even get there. Look at Will. When Alexis gave Will some constructive feedback. Will's first inclination was declare war. He's not even at the point where he's willing to even maybe give an apology to any of the women who felt he was inappropriate. He didn't even get there yet. This is why I'm going to tell you the willingness to even sit at a table and even think about giving an apology deserves credit. And this also goes back to what I was talking about even with Vanessa in reassurance. Listen, when you're in a relationship, you have to learn how to not just criticize bad behavior, but you've also got to learn how to encourage better behavior. So when you see people making an effort to be better, even though their better isn't 100% the way you like it, you need to actually acknowledge that it was an effort. A lot of people didn't want to give Alonzo any credit. They didn't even want to give him any credit for even sitting at the table and coming to the table. Therein is a difference with me. I gave him credit for that. Now, once he sat at the table and his apology was not complete, his apology was missing a whole lot with the ifs. His apology had a lot of gaslighting going on in it. What I said was, that's why I got a C. Because a C for effort, but your delivery was horrible, and the elements of an apology were missing. They were missing. So I said, at least he sat at the table. There are some people who are so stubborn, they won't even come to the table and even do what Alonzo did. Koshia is an example of it. Koshia is an example of it. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go a step further, y'all, because the next day he came back one more time, and you know what? He did an even better job with the apology. He got rid of the gaslighting. Okay, he still kept that if in there. That was wrong, but he came back better the next time. He gave a better apology. Even Koshia, and because his apology was a bit better, I think Koshia received it differently. Koshia, even herself, came a little closer to the middle and said, you know what? Maybe we both had some things we could have done differently. Maybe we were both just trying to be right. Exactly, Koshia. And I even gave Koshia brownie points. I gave Koshia brownie points for coming a little bit more to the table and having a discussion. So in that moment, I raised Alonzo's grade from a C to a C+. Is he in the B and the A category? Absolutely not. But if Alonzo is sitting in front of me and he's a friend of mine or a boyfriend of mine or a husband of mine, I'm going to acknowledge the steps that Alonzo did. It doesn't mean I can't still say the parts I would like him to improve upon, but I'm not going to not acknowledge his growth. I'm not. And let me tell you, this is why I got on Vanessa with Chaz, in that you don't need to reassure people. You don't need to encourage them. It's not true. Because when you don't encourage the small steps for people in your life, whether it's your kids, whether it's your husband, whether or not, you're not going to get no big steps. If you can't encourage the small things that I do, you can rest assured that you're not going to get no big steps from me. So people better learn to start encouraging and acknowledging the small steps. And maybe the difference between me and a lot of people when it came to Alonzo is that I encourage his small steps. Do I think he's at an A level? No, he's not. Absolutely not. And I wish people would see that. But here's the other thing that I'm going to say, where I'm also going to say why I liked Alonzo. Because I believe that in a relationship, which is where Dakia's going, which is where Sabrina's going, that people need to be quick to apologize. They do. And I know a lot of people say, well, Alonzo only apologized that second day because he wanted to stay on the show. And that he didn't really mean it. He was only doing it to stay on the show. And you know what I'm going to say to all y'all on that one? So what? So what? Who cares? Let me tell you something. If you're in a relationship and you're married, sometimes you need to say some things, whether it's an apology, even when you're not fully there yet. But you need to say it because you need to bring the temperature down in the relationship. You need to end the argument, the heated argument, so that you actually can move forward. Sometimes the apology is the first step to calm people down. You can then go on to have a better, more extensive conversation so that you own that apology even more. I understand that. I mean, that's the same thing with praise to God. Sometimes you don't even feel like praising God. Sometimes you are going through a rough time in your life and you're not even feeling like you want to praise God because you're really not happy. You're not. You're not feeling thankful. You're not being happy. You're not feeling none of that. But what the Bible teaches you is that you are supposed to usher in what you want in your life. And everybody should want in their life forgiveness. Everybody should want in their life love and mercy and grace. And an apology sets the tone for, ushering that in. It is not the end of it, but it is the beginning of it. Just like praise and worship at the beginning of a church ceremony or church service, the praise and worship happens in the beginning because it's setting the tone for what you want to happen next. An apology is not the end. It's not the benediction. An apology is the beginning. It is setting the tone. So I'm going to tell you what, as a married woman, you want a man. Ladies, hear me very, very well. You want a man that is quick to apologize. You want a man who wants to quickly usher in forgiveness. Your forgiveness. Your forgiveness. Because let me tell you, men make a lot of mistakes, ladies. They make a lot. And you need to learn how to also receive that initial moment when that man is learning to forgive. You talk to a lot of married men. Talk to a lot of married men. If you ever sitting around with a lot of married couples, and then there is a man getting married. Okay, let's say he's about to get married, and he asks all the married men, do you have any advice for me in my marriage? I'm going to tell you right now, if you're talking to married men who've been married for 15, 20 years plus, probably 8 out of 10 of those men will say, be quick to apologize, man. You better learn the words, I'm sorry, really, really good, and they better be able to flow out your mouth, period. So, and I'm telling you, it's important to women, because women, we are in our feelings, we are in our emotions, and if you can't even apologize, sometimes women, we can't move forward, period. We can't move forward. We can't hear nothing else you got to say if you can't apologize. So I get the fact that people didn't completely believe Alonzo's I'm sorry, right? I get the fact that people believe he only said I'm sorry because he wanted to move forward in the process. I get it. I get the fact that he may not even known all the things he's saying I'm sorry for. But if you as a wife, if you as a person in a relationship puts all this criteria on when you will receive an I'm sorry, you only can say I'm sorry when you fully believe it. You can only say I'm sorry when you fully know everything that you did wrong. You can only say I'm sorry when you have complete remorse in your heart. That's too high of a bar, lady, because some people get to their full I'm sorry in iterations. They don't get there all at once. You know, sometimes you say I'm sorry today and you think you're saying I'm sorry for, 1 or 2 things, but later on, a month later, 2 months later, you come into your full knowing of your sorry. And sometimes I've even gone back to a person and said, you know what? I know I said I'm sorry to you, a month ago, but now that I have even more information, I'm really sorry. I fully understand the situation even more than I did a month ago. And let me tell you, had I held on to my I'm sorry until I came into my full understanding, then that would have been a whole month, a whole 2 months, a whole year of beef with whoever that person was. And you can't have that in a relationship. You got to be quick to resolve situations in your family life with your man and your husband. And what that requires is people being able to quickly say that they're sorry. They can't hold on to an I'm sorry. Do not think of an I'm sorry as it has to be perfect, that it has to be complete, that it has to be whole. It does not. And I'm sorry is the beginning. It's not the end. It is the praise and worship of a church ceremony. It is not the benediction. So this is where I'm going to go away from everybody with Alonzo. I'm not going to not give Alonzo credit for coming to the table. I am going to give him credit for that. Yeah, I'm going to ding him that it wasn't complete. It wasn't full. It wasn't the best it could be. Right? And on the second day, I'm still going to give him credit for coming back again and giving him a better apology. Even though that one may not have been, maybe it might have been some things laced in the background that he was getting out of it to stay on the show. I don't care. I'm going to give him credit for that. And if I'm in a relationship with Alonzo, I'm going to say, but this is the next step I want you to go to. And this is the next step. I want you to keep getting better. But I'm not going to not give him credit. I'm not going to not praise him. I'm not going to not edify him. I'm not going to not reassure him that I see him. I see your work. I see your effort. I see what you're doing. You may not all be all the way there, but I see it. And in that respect, I'm going to diverge from a lot of people because a lot of people, but I am going to do this. Like I said, what I am giving y'all is I'm going to separate that quality that I liked about Alonzo from the bigger picture, because I think what people were thinking was I like everything about Alonzo, and that really wasn't it. And what I needed to do was I needed to think a little bit more about what is it that I really liked about Alonzo. And it was one of my viewers who actually made me think about it. So I want to tell her thank you. She told me I was being naive or blinded to Alonzo. And she said, I don't know why, Auntie Deb, you are so blinded and naive to Alonzo, because it sounds like you got like a sweet spot for him. Like he must remind you of either my husband or ex-boyfriend. That's what she said. And I said to her, I don't even know what I replied to her, but her question did make me think, because I was very well of the fact that I was having a different position than a lot of people. And it made me think a little bit deeper on why was I in a different position from Alonzo. Even though I did see all the things he was doing wrong, I saw all his negative behavior. I really did see it, y'all. But I still held another liking to Alonzo. And I'm going to tell you, I honed in on it. And I said, you know what I liked about Alonzo was I liked his ability to apologize. And I liked the fact that he apologized quickly. And I'm not going to go over it again. I didn't like everything about it, but I like that. And what I do is I recognize that as being something very, very important in relationships. Because in my own relationship, for myself and my husband, early in our relationship, it is something that we both had to work on. It is something that we both had to work on, because I'm a Taurus, y'all. I'm a stubborn Taurus. Okay? My husband is an Aries. He always liked to be right. So in our relationship, we had to learn how to usher in forgiveness, moving past it early. And the way that we ushered that in was to say, listen, very early on, we both need to learn how to say, I'm sorry. Even if we don't fully even understand how much we've hurt each other, something we said or something we done. And then we can grow into that I'm sorry. And it has helped us in our marriage, y'all. It has helped us. So when I saw that ability in Alonzo, I thought, I like that in him. I like it in him, because not everybody has that ability. You see so many people on this show right now who can't even apologize for things that they did wrong. They can't even look in the mirror and even contemplate that they did something wrong. Look at everybody that got kicked off. From everyone who got kicked off, from Patricia to April to stupid ass Lamar, right? None of them could admit anything that they did wrong. None of them could apologize for anything that they did wrong. And you guys want me, some of you don't want me to give Alonzo any credit for even coming to and sitting down at the apology table. And I'm saying, no, I'm going to give him credit. I'm going to give him credit for what he did, y'all. So that is going to be my difference between what I am going to concede when it comes to Alonzo. I am going to concede. Well, I don't need to concede it because I had already done it. He is absolutely immature. Absolutely. He does a lot of foolish things. I have said over and over again that Alonzo is 35, but I think Alonzo acts more like he's 25, y'all. I really do. To me, he's like 25, like a 25-year-old kid. And I said even early on that I don't think Alonzo has a lot of dating experience. I don't. I think there is a corniness to Alonzo. I don't think a lot of women might even find Alonzo attractive. I don't. I think a lot of Alonzo's conversation with the whole sex thing that he brings up, I think is immature, and I think it would turn off a lot of ladies. I think Alonzo could be an earlier version of Lamar. Lamar is just a 40-something-year-old, but if Alonzo don't get this conversation straight with the talk about sex, he gonna be Lamar in another 10 years. He gonna be just as creepy as that. And it was, I think, Sean Unfiltered from Little Black Book of Kojo who schooled me and let me know that the movie that Alonzo wanted to watch with Patrice was something like an erotic thriller. So I didn't know that. So like I said, I listen to y'all. I take in the information about Alonzo, and I can see a lot of areas with Alonzo where he wouldn't be a good mate for a lot of women. He just wouldn't be. He's just too immature. And I think Alonzo doesn't have a lot of dating experience, to be honest with y'all. I think he's corny. I think he's really corny. And I think this overly sex thing is because he probably don't get a lot of it. I'm telling you, I think he is a young Lamar in the making if he don't ship up and shape up. But my hope for Alonzo, because he was quick to apologize, is he won't be a Lamar. Because Alonzo came back that second time and gave Koshia a better apology, right? A better one. I didn't say it was perfect, but it was a better one. I'm going to say that he's not going to be a Lamar because maybe he will listen to people, maybe he will grow, and maybe he will learn. So in that respect, I have better hope for Alonzo. But is he there? No, he's not there. No, he's not there. He's not there at all. But the place that I'm going to challenge all of you on Alonzo, I'm going to ask something of y'all. Y'all ask something of me to look deeper. I'm going to ask y'all to look deeper. And I want to ask all of y'all what I sat here and talked about for the last 30 minutes. Do you believe that sitting at an apology table deserves some merit? Do you believe it? Even if the apology isn't everything that you want, everything that you expect, do you believe sitting at an apology table deserves something? 1 point. I ain't telling you how many points to give him for it, but it deserves some points. Do you also agree with me that not everybody is quick to apologize, to even try to apologize? Some of you might be the very people I'm talking about. But do you believe that that is not something that everybody has? And if you agree with me on those things, then can you agree that we need to give Alonzo at least some points in that area? Like I said, I never said that I'm going to introduce Alonzo to women to be married, that he's the best bachelor out here in town. No. But the reason I said about Alonzo is I think deep down in Alonzo's heart, I think there is a softness in there. Because let me tell you, in order to apologize, you have to relinquish. You have to humble yourself. And people who cannot humble themselves cannot even apologize. You can't apologize because you're so busy being right. You're so busy upset about what the other person does wrong. When I was in the beginning of my marriage and I was stuck on apologizing, or not apologizing as quickly as I needed to, a lot of times it was because I was so hurt maybe over what my husband did. And even in my being hurt, there were still things that I know I did wrong, right? And let me say that one more time, even in my being hurt in the things of what my husband might have said or done to me, I also knew in that moment that there were things I said and did too. But I did believe that the things that he said and did were bigger than what I said and did. Let me say that again. In my mind, I knew and I felt that the things he said and did were bigger, larger than the things I did. So what made me hold on to my apology and not give it to my husband was because I felt that since he was the one that was more in the wrong, he, in a lot of sense, should be the one that did the majority of the apologizing. That's how I felt. My husband felt that he might have been more in the wrong, which he came, at first, of course, they don't acknowledge that, but then he did. But then what bothered him was even in that, he felt that I wasn't doing enough to even acknowledge the small thing I was doing wrong. And so what it took was, it didn't take us agreeing on who was more wrong, who was more right. Because that's what a lot of this who's more wrong, who's more right. We never had to agree on who was more and who was wrong. The agreement that we eventually had to come to was there were things that we both said and did that deserved an apology. And what we did was we apologized for those things. So in the end, my husband's list, because he did acknowledge his things were maybe larger, his list was longer. I ain't gonna lie, his list was longer. But even if my list was short, I said I'm sorry for it. And in me apologizing for my short list, even gave him reassurance, comfort, a safe space, or whatever you want to call it, to apologize about his long list. And that's why I'm telling you, I gave Alonzo credit, because even at his age of 35, there are a lot of people who didn't have even what he did. They don't have that ability at 35. It takes some people a long time to get to the point where they can even apologize for anything. Some people never learn it, y'all. Some people absolutely never, ever learn it. And that in itself is a tragedy. But yeah, everybody better learn how to apologize. Everybody better learn how to apologize. You better learn how to apologize even when you want to. Welcome to marriage. Welcome to marriage. In marriage, you don't always do everything when you're ready, willing and ready to do it. You don't. You don't even have sex every time you're willing and ready, because both of you may not be in the mood at the exact same time. Sometimes you having sex with your husband when you don't want to because you're tired or whatever else. Sometimes the man is doing it as well. Sometimes men are doing things for women when they don't want to feel like doing it. You can't always wait until your emotions are there to do something, because if you wait till your emotions are fully there, it may be too long. It may be too long. If you keep waiting until you're in the mood, it may be weeks before you're in the mood, and next thing you know, you ain't had sex with your husband for weeks. Or you waiting until you feel really, really good and got all your energy. That may not happen. May not happen. Sometimes you eating dinner when you're not hungry because you want to eat with the family. It's dinner time. The family's sitting down and eating dinner. You're not really hungry, but you sit down and you eat. Sometimes you want to wait later. This is what it looks like when you are working in a unit, in a family unit, and you are combining your lives together. You're not always going to do things exactly when you feel like doing them. But that's what's part of being a family union, a husband and wife, or whatever it is. So that ain't no different with an apology. It's no different from an apology. Maybe you aren't willing and ready to give a full apology, but you better usher it in.